Good afternoon and welcome to the Senate Committee on Education. Today is Friday, April 4th, 2025. This is our 3:00 p.m. agenda, and we are in hearing room 229. This meeting, including the audio and video of remote participants, is being streamed live on YouTube. You will find links to viewing options for all Senate meetings on the live and on-demand video page of the legislature's website. In the unlikely event that we must abruptly end this hearing due to technical difficulties, the committee will reconvene to discuss any outstanding business on Monday, April 7th, 2025 in room 229. Any public notice will be posted on the legislature's website. I'd like to take this time to remind our testifiers that due to time restrictions on our hearings, we will be limiting testimony to 1 minute per testifier per bill. For people participating remotely, please remain muted and video disabled until shortly before it is your turn to testify. When I call your name, unmute yourself and your time will begin. After your minute is completed, staff will mute you so that we can move this hearing along in an orderly manner. First on our agenda is GM 761. Submitting for consideration and confirmation to the Hawaii Teacher Standards Board, gubernatorial nominee Deanna D'Olier for a term to expire June 30th, 2027. GM 761 for advice and consent. Is Deanna here, please?
Yes.
Forward, please, Deanna. For testifiers list, we have Phil Bossert, Hawaii Association of Independent Schools. Please take a seat. Is Phil?
He's not here. I believe
He's not here. He's
Right
not
there.
on. Okay. He provided testimony in support. Is there anyone else here wishing to testify?
The Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Hitayashi Superintendent, this is from the department. My apologies, Madam Chair, we will be submitting our testimony, but the department stands in support of this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent. Anyone else here wishing to testify on this measure? If not, Deanna, please go ahead and give us some testimony on yourself.
Absolutely. I do believe I'm suited well for representation. I started my career as an educator over 20 years ago as a classroom teacher. I've taught at various private schools here in Hawaii. I've also taught at various schools on the mainland and have lived here now for the better part of 20 years. I've worked in education. I've received a higher degree in education and been with the Hawaii Association for about 13 years now, serving in multiple capacities, including licensing private schools on behalf of the state of Hawaii and serving our private schools on matters of accreditation. So I've worn many hats and as incoming executive director of the Hawaii Association of Independent Schools, it would be a privilege to serve on this board as well.
Thank you, Deanna. Members, questions? No questions.
Basic question is why do you want to serve on this particular board and what do you bring to the board?
Absolutely. This particular board, I think, has a lot of insight as far as upholding the standards of what we believe is valuable in a classroom setting. And you know, I've been in education now for the majority of my career, and I truly believe that there's probably no more important role than that of what our teachers do in a classroom day in and day out. And so it would be an absolute privilege to continue to serve in that capacity, informing and learning alongside others who I think share similar beliefs. Having, again, served in classroom settings, multiple grade levels, I think I've probably taught every single grade level from kindergarten through 12th grade over the years, and then serving in various capacities outside of a school setting, still working on behalf of our schools here in Hawaii. I think I have, you know, a solid knowledge base, always open to learning. And I also, I'll just add that, you know, I enjoy the partnerships that we've extended over the years between our private school association and the Department of Education. And I think it's one more way to strengthen some of those connections and ties.
Thank you. Thank you, members. Further questions? Senator Hutchinson.
I guess I'd like to know your philosophy on what is the Teacher Standards Board in trying to figure out how to fill all of our teacher vacancies that we primarily have within the public school space? And what do you think we should do about it?
An excellent question. I think it's probably our biggest area of need in Hawaii, and it does extend beyond the public schools. The private schools are experiencing similar shortages. It's exacerbated on the early learning side of education as well. I think we have to be open-minded. I think we have to be creative. We're up against so many obstacles. I mean, we, don't need to share with all of you, cost of living out here is not conducive to supporting our educators in Hawaii. We need to think broadly and innovatively about how we're attracting teachers and how we're finding pathways for them to succeed in our schools. And I think it can be a multifaceted approach. I think in recent years, there's been excellent ideas brought to the table. Some are lofty, but some I think are feasible. And I think it's a matter of, again, figuring out how to reach across the channels, continue working with the University of Hawaii on pathways there, and finding those broad levels of support. And I think that, again, it's another opportunity potentially for some public-private partnership and how we support those pathways for teachers finding their homes in Hawaii. I think, over the years, I'll just brought one great example of, I think, a very effective pathway has been the work that Teach for America has done in support of educators coming to Hawaii. And I think if we can continue working with partners like them and other organizations, we can chip away at the issue, but it will be an ongoing issue, and I think it might even get harder in the years to come. So thinking broadly, innovatively, and creatively, I think is key.
Yeah, so I'll bring something to your attention that I think this committee heard that I was a little surprised on the Teacher Standards Board's position. And I think you said the right things. It was, being open-minded, being creative. I think the Department of Education has been quite creative in bringing in J1 visa teachers. And, I think the HTSB was tasked with, trying to figure out how to deal with them. And I think, the legislature had a bill moving forward asking to, for the board to create a special program to credential these folks. And essentially they were against the bill. And I was just so surprised that they took that position, because the DOE is trying to figure out how to be open-minded and creative in trying to apply something that, is essentially a Band-Aid for us until we figure out the longer term solution. But they were totally against it. And so I don't know what you think about that, but I was very, very surprised, because that doesn't show me that they're open-minded and creative. And I hope that you can bring some sense into what they're trying to accomplish.
I would hope to add an additional voice to the group as far as being mindful of who's sitting at the table alongside me, but I would hope to bring an open mind and creative solutions and just working alongside to move the needle on these issues. Private schools have the autonomy to do so. And I think, perhaps there's some learning to do alongside everybody as we think about the shortage and how we need to be flexible. So all I can hope is to forge relationships, right? And to hopefully, continue to do some good thinking along some people that I also believe are well-intentioned.
Yeah, no, I think my bottom line is hopefully you can share that open-mindedness and creativity with the rest of the board so that we can have good results, right, for our educational system. Thank you, Chair.
Further questions? So, my question is, Deanna, that in question 3 of the questionnaire you were sent, you stated that you would bring a mindset of ensuring that interactions with its executive leadership are characterized by professionalism, partnership, and mutual accountability. Can you explain your proactive approach to this?
Absolutely. I mean, I really do think it does come down to, I'm as much as possible a fan of listening and learning alongside others, right? And so I really do believe that I will undoubtedly have a lot to learn from those sitting around the table, and I'm going to be mindful of that. I think in doing so, you can cultivate a space where there can be, I hope, an equal exchange of ideas and thoughts. So, in short, I think that's kind of my approach in general. I have a lot to learn. I'm new at the helm at HIS, although I've been in this space for a long time. And I think just sitting and learning alongside members of the board and others that will inform the work that we ultimately hope to achieve will be critical. I'm not sure if that fully answers your question. I'm happy to elaborate on any given portion.
I have no further questions. Members, any further questions?
Chair, I have a question.
Yes.
Could you just maybe share with me one of your thoughts on how you would be more, bring more open-minded, innovative ideas? Like what is something that the department is not doing or that the board is not doing that you would bring a new idea in as example?
I mean, I will, be candid in saying that I do believe that there should be alternate pathways to teacher licensure in the state of Hawaii. I don't know how we move forward without it. And I think, ultimately it would be ideal if we're sitting at a table at a place where we can come to some sort of agreement where that, what that might look like. But I think that, I'll give an example. We can leverage the idea of apprenticeships or learning while doing, right, through and cultivating teachers. I think that there's programs that are available that could support some of those initiatives. I'll give the example of myself. I fell into education. I moved to Hawaii. I didn't have anything. I was struggling it was right after 9/11. The job market wasn't great. And basically I took a teaching job. And I did so at a private school. And then I found my way through a pathway of education. I stepped into a classroom and I fell in love with it. And so it was a pathway. And at this point, here I am 20-something years later, where I've worked my way through the degrees, but I learned from doing first, and I learned from those around me in a supportive school setting. So I think I am testament to finding alternate pathways through a process that sometimes might not be the clear-cut way. And I think we can be a little bit creative in how we figure out how to do those things.
So are you talking about alternate pathways as far as maybe internship right after high school? Are those kinds of things?
Internship, could be apprenticeship,
Okay.
could be learning alongside. We have amazing teachers in our state at every type of school. Could be pathways through the university. I think there's room for creativity.
Yeah, because teacher shortage is a very strong concern amongst parents and parents that do have children in their in the public school education system. But teachers in my district aren't necessarily leaving because of high cost of living. They're leaving because they're disappointed with the overall department, the way the department is run, the fact that they have to continue to come out of pocket and give above and beyond. Now we're finding teachers having to be teachers, having to be coaches, having to direct traffic when kids are being dropped off in the morning. So they have to wear many hats. So how can you, I guess, how can you, at least comfort me in knowing that, yeah, we can supply the teacher shortage without lowering the standard? Because we're starting to find that in my community where people are starting to step in and maybe fill a gap where they're not necessarily credentialed or have the college degrees for that. So I just want to make sure that we're keeping the level of standard high, that we're not reducing the quality of education for our students, but then also knowing that you're going to be on a collective board with people that really don't like change. If I've noticed anything about the Department of Education, they don't like change. And so I don't know where that come from. I don't know how that's going to be implemented, but I did want to make that point to you, is that it's the teacher shortage isn't only just coming from high cost of living. So
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
And it's burnout, and it's a demand. I mean, there are a few other more demanding jobs of being a teacher, and you don't leave it at the door.
Right.
And that's certainly not lost on me.
Very good. That's it, Chair. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Members, further questions? If not, thank you, Deanna.
Thank you.
Next item is GM 774 for Wesley Westlow, for a seat on the Board of Education, and to testify, Superintendent.
Hello, Chair Kitani, Vice Chair Kim, members of the committee, Keith Hayashi, Superintendent testifying on behalf of the Department of Education. Mr. Lowe brings with him experience that has shown strategic leadership, financial management, and community engagement. In a short time on the Board of Education, he has already stepped up to shoulder the responsibility of chairing the Human Resources Committee and has been doing an excellent job. For this reason, the department stands in strong support of Mr. Wesley Lowe. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you, Superintendent. Anyone else wishing to testify? Members, questions? Oh, sorry. I guess that would be a good idea.
That's okay. Madam Chair, Senators, Wesley Lowe, currently on the Board of Education. This is my, I'm serving the last year of a term, a vacant term, so I am up for confirmation again. And I do know some of you have read my past submissions, so I do gotta follow up on many of those things. I did formerly serve on the first appointed Board of Education back in 2011. Just quick background myself, I am in healthcare. I don't know anything about healthcare other than being the business part of healthcare. I've been on the Board of Education, and I am not a teacher or an educator. I would classify myself as a wannabe community developer. I do believe that frankly, education and healthcare are the building blocks of society. And if you're going to do anything about an economy, anything, you would want to start with those two things in mind as you build it. My desire on the Board of Education, I'm trying to answer as many questions as I can, is related, frankly, that I have two, I'm a proud parent of two graduates from the Department of Education, one from Baldwin, one from Maui High. And my wife, big impact on my life, was at the DOE for 35 years, I think, something like that. I saw some successes. I wish that I could do what educators do, the rewards that they get when they turn around. She was an alternative learning counselor, and the rewards that she gets when some people, underprivileged kids, have a tough time and come back to her years later as an airplane pilot or a doctor, and she's crying. I think it's more rewards than you could get from anything else in life. So anyway, that's sort of my story for this, and I'm looking forward to hoping to continue to support the advancement of the Department of Education. Thank you.
Thank you. As further questions, members?
Question.
Go ahead.
Wesley, thank you so much for being here and your opportunity to serve. So I'm a little confused by your resume, and then also maybe a little bit of what you shared, because your resume, it shows that you have some medical background or healthcare background, but then in your statement, you said you're in healthcare, but you're only on the business side. Then you said you're on the board, but you're not really directly in the schools. So I originally didn't have any questions for you, but I have lots now.
Okay.
But for the sake of time, I'm gonna condense it. But what can you bring that would have some real meat and substance that would help to advise the Department of Education, whether that be through policy, curriculum, teacher shortage,
Right.
budgeting, all those kinds. I mean, I'm looking at your resume and I'm trying to really connect the dots. So can you tell me what you can bring in
Sure.
real time that will be an advantage to the Department of Education, to our students, and to our taxpayers?
Madam Chair, Senator. Yeah, so it was a little bit of a tongue in cheek. I've been in healthcare for most of my career. I am not a practitioner. I do not do surgeries. I do not take care of patients. I wish I could. Frankly, I think that's why I entered into the field, but I have been involved in healthcare quite a bit. I did run the state Maui's hospitals for years, and currently run a large post-acute care thing out in Pu'uwai, Makaha, out in Makaha, et cetera. So I think it was more that I've never been a doctor or a nurse, et cetera, and I wish I could. And just same as in the Board of Education, I've never been a teacher, but I've seen the rewards, and I've always tried to help maybe where I could in that space. I would say that I'm hopeful that my experience in running large organizations, complex organizations, can be of assistance in the development of whether it's the Department of Education or healthcare or hospitals in running it. I find that in large complex organizations, it's about organizational structures and holding people accountable. And again, although I've never been a teacher, I think that I will defer to the experts on many of the curriculum issues, but that I can hopefully bring some structure on how to move organizations forward.
Okay, what would you be the expert in, though? If you're going to defer to experts in the curriculum, what are
Okay,
you the
sure.
expert in? What can we defer you to?
I would say that I could be very helpful in the human resources side is bringing performance metrics and accountability and evaluations and organizational structures. I also have a fairly reasonable background, I would say, in finance and in building things, construction. I wouldn't say that I think there's certainly people that are more qualified in some of these things, but I think the whole package, I think that I can provide organizational structure. I can help the business matters and the moving forward of an organization.
Yeah, and thank you for that response. Unfortunately, I'm just not seeing that as being a part of the core responsibilities to be a member of the Board of Education, but that's it for me. Thank you,
Okay,
Wesley.
thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Other questions? Kim.
Okay, go ahead. Wesley, thank you very much. I guess I look at it from a different point of view. I think sometimes our boards, when you're so much embedded in the organization or in one field, you're not able to see other things. I think our education system and DOE affects everybody, not just our students, but the parents of these students who have not been teachers, not been educators. Certainly, I think a lot of it is work experience, life experience, what is needed in our schools. And so I believe, having talked with you and known you for a number of years, I think that's what you bring to the board. And you've been serving now for about 9 months. So can you share with us some of the issues and concerns that having been on for 9 months, and what are some of the areas you think that the board needs to work on?
Okay, Madam Chair, Senator. I think in the first 9 months, I think I described in my my written comments, that first it was just getting used to the Sunshine Law and the dynamics of the board. I think the first thing that I wanted to bring forward to the Department of Education is clear metrics on moving towards the strategic plan. I think in previous evaluations of the superintendent, it was like, let's have a discussion, and it was a fairly, I think, effective, but it was a loose discussion. There was no performance metrics that actually shows you're taking steps forward to accomplishing a goal. And so we did work together as a board to put these things together, where we have student achievement metrics. We have process metrics to create plans on how to, let's say, work on an IT infrastructure, or how to improve your HR systems, et cetera, to recruit more people, to come up with plans and start reviewing it and making sure that there's progress toward that. So that has been a major part. I think that we are starting to delve into the issues around facilities and making sure that we can, move forward projects in a more timely manner and appropriate standards, and the dynamics between the various different agencies. 9 months is not a long time, though, so I'd say that it's a work in progress right now.
Okay, as far as oversight, because the board has oversight on the department.
Yes.
How does the board manage that oversight? Because, similarly, the legislature has oversight over the department. We have oversight of the University of Hawaii, but sometimes we get criticized for micromanaging when we see that the board fails to act, with the regents, or in this case, the Board of Education fails to act on certain things. And that's where many times you will see a bill or a resolution urging something gets done. And I know there's a lot of bills, there's a lot of education bills, a lot of education resolutions of that. And so, how do you look at the oversight? Because sometimes we wonder when parents call, I said, you need to call the Board of Education.
Right. Well, I think that the Madam Chair, Senator, correct. I think that the board has some of the same challenges the legislature has, is that you do not want to micromanage, but yet you want to ensure progress. Therefore, there was a lot of time and thought around what metrics. The strategic plan, actually, when you look at it, it's to 2029, I believe. So you're not going to change the large Department of Education in 1 year. So the idea is to make sure that there's specific progress that everybody's aligned to, which would be the board and the department, each year, and they meet those marks, or you got to, of course, adjust to that. So that's why we try to not have too many measures, but very key measures to make sure that every year there's progress towards that 2029 strategic plan. We did not try to redo the strategic plan. So we started creating metrics. Well, what things did we feel as a board that were important to accomplish in a year. So obviously, we wanted to see advancement in student achievement of math and literacy. And then also then we started saying is that, well, there's issues around student transportation and school food service. So we said, well, you got to come up with a plan on how you're going to manage the Office of Facilities, right? And then we started, I'm sorry, I can't remember all of them. And then the IT issues, how are we going to move ahead? Some of the teacher shortages or the workforce shortage issues could be solved by IT, et cetera. Well, how are we going to do that? What is the plan? And then what metrics can we hold them going forward? Just same with HR, et cetera. So I think that at least our strategy on this is take some key things and try to listen to what legislature, the community, the public has, and try to just make sure there's progress, that it's not progress and alignment. You don't want to be running a race where you don't know where the finish line is. So we want to make sure that the superintendent doesn't know where the finish line is, that's aligned with the board. And we will do our best to try to align with the legislature also.
Okay, my last question. Sometimes you can align together. You can meet all the metrics, you can meet all the goals, and there's still dissatisfaction, there's still problems.
Correct.
So I hope we don't get caught up in the minutia of the metrics of that
Correct.
and lack the common sense or lack really looking at, what are the basic things we need, like preparing our kids for the world. Financial literacy to me is common sense, yet it's not embedded. There's so many things that they should be performing, and yet we push them into early college, get early credit, and yet we lack on many of the basic values and the basic foundation that our students need to be successful in the world. And somehow we've lost that because we've gotten so much into a degree. So I hope that we'll have some moderation.
Correct. I do believe that we need life skills to move forward. It will be incumbent upon us to make sure we accomplish that. Again, it's not always the same path. I think Senator DeCourt had asked, what other things are we doing, like workforce development, et cetera. Well, it's about how do you raise, it's not only the cost of living, it's how do you raise have people go to their highest level is important too. And it's not only just the educational piece, it's the workforce development piece, is working with the community. And in some communities, it's not always going to the next level, it's CTE or et cetera. So I do agree with you that that's important. I think we do have to figure out how to work with the department to give them the right metrics, but also not micromanage exactly what everything they're doing, but make sure that, again, there's progress toward the goal. But I do understand, and I feel the issues.
Thank you, Wes. So for several years, the Senate has pushed to have the Board of Education act on a policy for financial literacy. If confirmed to the Board of Education, would you use your position to advocate for a BOE policy on financial literacy for all our students?
That's a loaded question, Madam Chair. That's a loaded question. I will answer that I believe in financial literacy is a key component in the future of our youth. One thing I would be careful of is to make sure that we have well-rounded kids, that it's everything. And so if we are able to add it without taking away something else, I think that that's something that the board will need to wrestle with. And I think where we're advocating is that we are starting to work on graduation requirements. It's one of the goals, that we have a new vision for graduation requirements. And that from there, then we can determine what is going to be required of a graduate, et cetera. So while personally, I do believe exactly as Senator Kim has mentioned, and you have mentioned that financial literacy is critical. Before I make any final decision, I would want to know that we're not sacrificing something else. I'm not saying that we would, but are you going to say as well, okay, we'll do financial literacy, but we won't do, math or something. And I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but I would want to see a holistic thing to make sure that we do that. But I certainly would advocate that we continue to push for financial literacy.
Thank you. Another question. If confirmed to the Board of Education, will you work with your fellow board members to establish a policy position on the banning of cell phones at our schools?
I did, Madam Chair, Senator. Well, I will give my personal opinion on it. And I just happened to read an article about New Zealand. I don't know if you guys saw on the internet the other day that they are struggling with it. I personally agree that during the classroom time that there should be a ban on cell phones personally. I do understand that there are some other issues, and I gotta say is tongue in cheek, I am the OG, right? So I didn't grow up with cell phones. I grew up with the rotary thing, yeah, whatever they call it. And I think there's a different way of communications and a different style and of how they interact with each other. So I would just want to know a little bit more about it, but I do feel in the classroom that should be banned. I know that the New Zealand thing, they were talking about, well, what about breaks and in time so that, you know, and it is a new way to communicate that I am not as familiar with, right? I don't have any Instagram or anything. So I think we just need to be cognizant of making sure that we understand what the other issues are, like making sure that there's emergency communications, and that also, again, I read in the article, it's important is that our teachers are held to the same standard as our students, right? So that they, you know, we need to just understand and make sure it's equitable as we approach it. But I personally do believe that during the classroom time, a cell phone ban would be a wise thing.
Thank you. If confirmed to the Board of Education, will you work with your fellow board members to establish a policy position? Oh, did I see this banning of, I'm sorry. I'm reading someone else. And I talked about financial literacy.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Here's my questions. Anybody else has questions? Oh, go ahead.
Thanks, Wes, for being here, and thanks for serving on the board. So I think, you know, it's been 9 months. So let's go back when you started, you know, on the board. I think we'll set the stage that I think we were facing a lot of lapses in the capital improvement projects, and I think there was a request from us to really take a look at the Office of Facilities, right, and then the DOE. Where do you think we are in that process? And do you see that we've had some incremental improvements in that, you know, and I know you're more on the HR side, but, you know, through that lens, have you seen do you see that there is going to be more improvements coming out of the DOE on how we deal with all these improvements that we're trying to do for our facilities?
Madam Chair, Senator, I think there are some key questions that need to be resolved as we move forward on the facilities things. I think that there's been definitely a strong attempt at trying to deal with for the prioritization. And I think there's been issues on lump sum funding to allow us to actually, the DOE to actually try to manage the resources and not, you know, within a aligned goal. So there's not all these other requests coming in. So I think that there was a good attempt at that. I think it's going to be in the implementation, and I'll talk about the elephant in the room is I think we need to resolve some of the issues around the roles and responsibilities between the facilities and the school facilities administration. And I think that, but I think that there's definitely been progress on that. There's been some discussions. I think it's a work in progress. I guess I'll be anxious as we head out of this budget year to sort of see where we're at and start monitoring. I think that we have asked as part of the metrics that we have a plan for the Office of Facilities, and also related, but not directly, is the human resource side. Is I think for there to be effective performance, you also need to be able to fill positions, and we'll need to deal with that. I mean, it's not just one thing. Yeah, you got to make sure that we can fill those positions and find out. So it kind of starts flowing together with IT, et cetera, and HR systems, et cetera. But I think there's been progress. I think there's more discussions that need to happen before I could tell you, oh no, we're going to be perfect. I think we got to resolve a few issues around the facilities, though, for sure.
Well, I hope with your knowledge, you'll continue to, you know, chip away at it. I think you're right. I think a lot of it is people. People is important. I think I'd like to hopefully see that we can get some, you know, more employees that know what they're doing, either through exempt positions or otherwise, to make sure that, you know, we don't always look for contractors to work our way out of things. And so, you know, I hope that you'll continue to work on that and make it a priority as you, you know, go through your board tenure.
Thank you.
That's my questions.
Yeah, we're going to go on. Thank you, Wes.
Thank you.
So next to discuss is GM 776 advising consent. Oops, I'm sorry. Submitting for consideration and confirmation to the Board of Education gubernatorial nominee Sylvia Lee for a term to expire June 30th, 2028. Sylvia, please. Yes, please. Can you please tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to?
Well, I'm going to start by telling you that when I walked in, I was so grateful that I was third. Because I thought that would afford me a little less nervousness. It has only increased the nervousness because the people before me have been so passionate and so fluent in their delivery. My whole life, my whole professional life has been with the Department of Education. I really know nothing outside of that. I know it quite well. I've been I've had many different positions in it. And one of the things I've learned in the past few weeks is how whatever issues I saw in the decades I was in, whatever solutions I thought I had created in and of myself or within the DOE are much more dependent on partnerships. And I think that what I can bring is that overview, that idea that it's not just me, it's not just the DOE, it is the BOE. Heavens, I'm embarrassed. I think I told many of you, I know about the DOE. I know a little bit about the BOE because it's something we learned when we were in school, and they said, oh, the Department of Education is run by the legislature, the BOE, and the superintendent. And I thought, oh, I'm going to have 3 bosses. That's just not good. But I still liked it anyway. And I know nothing about the legislature. I am overwhelmed by the job you do. I think I shared with some of you the other night. I was talking with my husband and I said, what is a majority whip? That's a terrible title.
All the majority whips, please stand. The title.
Senator Hashimoto is probably a wonderful person, but the title is a little tricky.
No, he's a whip.
I guess my point here is, what can I bring? I think I can bring that willingness to work with groups, the willingness to see beyond just what is. I also think I bring a sense of being able to look at hard questions, ask hard questions. I have often said this, I am not lovable. People will not walk away from me or have worked with me and say, she's so nice. She's the nicest person. You never know. I'm not warm and fuzzy. But what they will miss me for is perhaps, oh, she said it like it was. If something needed pushing, she pushed. Sometimes, and I learned this over the years, sometimes it was real nice to say thank you. I had a hard time learning to say please, because I thought that's my duty. That's your duty. That's my job. That's your job. So I didn't even think please was necessary. I thought that it was just, and I still do think it's my job. So I think I bring that kind of passion, that kind of overview to this role. And by the way, I'm still nervous.
We couldn't tell. Thank you. Stay right there. We're going to ask Superintendent Hayashi to testify.
Hello, Chair Kidani, Vice Chair Kia, members of the committee, Keith Hayashi, Superintendent, testifying on behalf of the Department of Education. The department stands on its written testimony in strong support of this measure. Ms. Lee brings a breadth of experience as a teacher, registrar, school administrator, and district level leader that has resulted in a deep understanding of Hawaii's public school system, and her passion for student success will benefit the board. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you, Superintendent. Susan Ichinose on Zoom.
Not present on Zoom, Chair.
Thank you. Anyone else here to testify on this measure? If not, members, questions? No questions. I have a couple questions. Susan, the Senate has pushed for years to have the Board of Education act on a policy for financial literacy. If confirmed to the Board of Education, will you use your position to advocate for a board policy on financial literacy for all of our students?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Good answer.
Sweet.
And I will say, certainly, I heard discussion on this before, and I have heard people say, don't make promises and make promises, just real quickly. I have two daughters. One said to me right after high school, you never taught me anything about financial literacy. By the way, she's in her 40s now. And she's been saying that for many days, many years. You never taught me. I would have been in much better shape if you had. And she is in good shape because she took the path to seek it out herself. I have another daughter in her 40s also who said, I wish I had learned more about it because it would serve me better where I am now. I look at deficits and spending that goes on, that has gone on, and I've seen within my schools, within the DOE, within the legislature. I think maybe if many of us had financial literacy training a long time ago, we might be in better shape now. Anyway.
Thank you. The other question I've been asked to ask is, if confirmed to the Board of Education, will you work with your fellow board members to establish a policy position on the banning of cell phones at our schools?
I've just heard about this one. And my first thought when I heard it was, and it's been an issue since for many years. When cell phones first became popular in the schools, teachers were telling me, we need to ban it at our school because it's interfering with instruction. And a lot of it was, my reaction at that time is, let's see how we can use it to facilitate instruction. Let's see. But my first question when I thought of this is, yes, how we can ban it. How are we going to enforce that? What is the measure that we're going to use? The one thing, and I don't know enough about those items. The one thing that I do like about it is that if the DOE and the BOE take a stand with that in the school, my assumption is it will be universal throughout the DOE. I'm big for consistency. I don't like that students at one school, especially if it's a rule, can do this and not at another. And then you have communities fighting with one another. So I do like that part. I don't know enough about the follow-up to be really comfortable.
Thank you. Members, any questions? Thank you, Sylvia.
Oh, thank you.
We didn't beat you up, did we?
We're saving
You
it
want to
for,
come back for round two?
we're saving it for the next.
Okay, is that all the testifiers? I think? Okay, we're going on to GM 775. Michael Magawai for the Board of Education. Thank you, Mike, for being here.
Thank you, Chair Kidani, Vice Chair Jim, and the Senators on this committee.
Please go ahead.
Hi, name is Michael Magawai. In the past, I served in the House of Representatives, represented District 45, which is the North Shore, from Laie all the way to Del Monte Cunha from 2000 to 2010. My reason for wanting to be on the board is I want to bring a fresh face to the board, because with my experience as an electrical engineer and working with facilities, building things, and also with Catholic Charities as housing presidents, we have been building a lot of homes for Catholic Charities for basically single rental. We have already proven ourselves in Nui Malka, we have 200 units. In Maui, we have Kahululani, 165 units. And presently, we're doing the all the AMBs all swap me to build about family housing. Reason I want to be because I've seen what happened with the ledge, and me as a past legislator, we're kind of ticked off because when you bring the bacon home to your district, if it's not accomplished what you want to build or fix, especially when you talk to the schools, the principals, and you want something to be done, and especially when it's not being done. And I just want to bring my fresh eyes and experience to assist and to see what is the pitfalls of our facilities. Because to me, there's always a process. The question is the process being followed? Are we having too many silos, or are we communicating to the public? Because you as legislators go out to the public because you're out there getting what is required in the district to be done. If the DU has failed to do it, shame on that. The question is, we have to provide the right answers. Right now, they're restructuring, and like I said, I bring fresh eyes to the, if confirmed, to this organization. Because my philosophy in life is, it's like when you're planting a rice field, in a meadow. It grows, as the kernels come up, it slowly bends. The older you get, it bends more. So I was saying to you guys, with humility, as we get older, no matter what your vertical scale is, you want to give back to the public, because once we're gone, we want to make sure there is prosperity for as we continue on with the state of Hawaii. Because I have seen a lot of kids or grandkids of my generation or have gone away a lot. And the question is that we have is, when you grad from high school or college, the first thing they ask you, where's your experience? You have no experience. Look at the nursing shortage. I wish they would train this, because my son is a nurse. He graduated before the pandemic. He couldn't get a job because everybody said, where's your experience? So they go away. What I'm saying right now is that we have to provide a proper education. Because in my other hat too, because when I mentioned a thing about the rice field, because I'm also the chair of the Halikipa, we take care of all the runaway youths, the kids that are being deprived because of their parents, no fault of them. We try to create a gem, a diamond in a rough to help them. Basically what we're trying to do is build a self-esteem, because every kid's have an opportunity. Look at the kid, that student that graduated from Waipahu. She was a homeless a couple of years ago. She's a 4.0 homeless. She got a full scholarship at University of Hawaii. Now she's working at KIT as a production manager. What I'm saying that we cannot miss the opportunity. But for me and my role, I bring fresh eyes, be open, because I want to see what's wrong with our facilities. Because as engineers, you're very boring because we have a process we got to go through. We have agency like the DPP, permitting, and we have to deal with the community. A lot of times, if you don't do your homework, do your due diligence, you're going to create havoc in the community if you're going to build. You cannot say because they provided funds, you're going to build, but have you talked to your community? Is there infrastructure in that area that you're going to build? And the question is, you have funds, will it lapse? Because I'm telling you it all, 2 years, if you guys give money, it's not going to happen. Because with what I do as an engineer, every project we have to do with the utilities like Hawaiian Electric or MECO. They take 2 years before they can get their transport on board. So I'm saying that there's a process you have to go through. I'm not saying what we have is, I take it back. There's something wrong with this situation. All I want to do is provide, as a new member, just basically bring new fresh eyes and whatever experience I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Stay right there. Members, questions? Senator Nicole.
Hi, Mike. Thank you so much for your willingness to serve. So I do have a few questions in looking at your resume also, and not to trigger the other nominee, but with your resume, I'm not really seeing education background as well. I know that you had shared that you're an engineer.
I grew up at Wai'lo High School, way
I'm
back.
sorry?
Wai'lo High School. My
What about-
education, you talking about education, right?
Yes,
Education background.
Background. You're talking about education background.
correct.
Wai'lo High School.
No.
No,
Oh,
I'm not talking
Oh.
about being a student.
okay. Sorry.
I'm talking about actually either being a part of the administration, the staff,
No, I have not.
teacher.
I
Okay.
have not.
Okay, so which prompts me to my next question. I just have serious concerns because how long were you serving on the board already?
Which board?
Board of Education?
This is
This
my
will be your
first time.
first? Okay.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I'm a fresh eyes. I need to know the system like anything else. You have to do your due diligence before you do anything.
So as I had asked the previous nominee, what would you necessarily be an expert in? You mentioned fresh eyes.
It would
we
be
had-
mostly facilities, looking at basic the structure,
Mhm.
what has happened, why is it, projects not moving, what's the hold up? Is it a permit or is it the lack of expertise? Or are we missing something?
Okay,
Or the commitment that we give to legislator, what can happen, you know?
okay,
It
great.
just, the key is, are we following up? I don't
Thank-
know. I'm just asking a question.
Okay, thank you. So with regards to the 2023 to 2029 strategic plan, what part of that facilities plan would you be able to contribute to
Priority three.
fulfilling that plan?
Priority number 3.
Okay, what about it?
I mean, it's basically we're going to facility structure, and basically what I'm looking at it, if looking at that is I would go out and talk to the stakeholders, principals on the town, rural schools, and neighbor island to get measurements as far as are we accomplishing what is required, the desired outcome required in the strategic plan for number 3. If that correlates to number 1 and 2, so be it. I just need to know beside what you read, because the key is reaching out to the community.
And you're a former House representative as well, right?
Correct.
So you know how to look at public records as far to see where the facilities are at right now, as far as the conditions that it's in, the monies that each school is asking for. So even though you might not be at the table yet, there's ways to find out through public information on where the facilities are at now, yeah?
That is correct.
Okay, so have you done any research according to that, being that you plan to spend a good amount of time being the expert in the facilities, going to be able to start
I
day
will,
one?
I will once confirm.
Okay, so you haven't really prepared
No.
for anything?
Yeah, I
Okay.
just wanted to hear from you based on your query of questions and answers, based on what your expectation, what you want from me or not. Because once I got a green light, then I'll do that part as doing my due diligence.
Okay, so you're pretty much, once I get the position, then I'm gonna do the work.
Correct.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Forgive me, I forgot to call our testifiers. Superintendent. Stay right there, Mike.
Hello, Chair Kidani, Vice Chair Kim, members of the committee. Keith Hayashi, Superintendent, testifying on behalf of the Department of Education. The department stands on its written testimony in strong support of this measure. Mr. Magawai has extensive experience in public service, engineering, and education advocacy. As an example, he is a long-serving member on the Public Schools of Hawaii Foundation, and most recently was in support of our students, served as a judge in students' projects, authentic-based learning projects that leverage artificial intelligence and technology. I'm sure he will be definitely a strong supporter of public education. Thank you very much for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Also to testify, Ryan Toyomura. Ryan's not here. Anyone else here to testify on this measure? Thank you. Members, questions?
Maybe just a comment.
Okay.
Chair. Thank you, Chair, and thank you for being here again. Model for all you guys coming to volunteer for these positions, which are extremely important, not only for the future of our kids, but also then all the teachers and administration, basically what was said earlier, the entire community. I appreciate your background, especially with facilities and maintenance. That's something that I've always been barking about. You know, I represent Honolulu and Volcano on Hawaii Island, some of the oldest schools in the entire state. And it takes a lot for them to get upkeep. And especially, you know, neighbor islands taken care of by DAGs, you know, for the maintenance of these schools. And I'm not saying anything bad against them. They're fantastic. Just need a lot more resources to do all the different work that needs to be done. So I appreciate your willingness and your background in this specific in that specific way, because that's, I mean, you know, we go back and all the money we've appropriated in the past, right? A ton of it has lapsed. And so I know that there's a transition. I'm trying to figure that all out right now. And I hope that it will come to fruition on how we better manage, better prioritize all these different projects and make it equitable throughout the state, right? You know, representing some of the most rural communities, you never want them to be marginalized, especially, you know, the populations here on Oahu, the tax bases here on Oahu, we get that. But I mean, we're trying to build equity throughout the entire state. So I definitely would love for you to get out there, go see some of these rural schools, go see some of these rural campuses that still need a lot of help, right? And especially when it comes to maintenance and repair. So
I agree. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Magawai, I really appreciate you being willing to serve on the board, because I appreciate your knowledge of construction, and I think that the board could use someone with your expertise. But my question for you is, would you say that maintenance and repair is equally important as the construction itself?
Let me state it this way. Construction is good depending on your specification. If you want to go cheap, you get the materials that's going to last you 5 years, less than 5. And what it does, if your specification is not tight, I don't think the DU has a standard specification when you're building schools, like materials, what they're going to use, you know, architecturally, doors, or everything else. Because what's the problem going to be is that whoever take care of the maintenance, they have to go to like a hardware store. This is for ODE, this is for DAG, this is for X, Y, and Z, because they have to match the parts that you have. So if the design is great, your repair and maintenance should go down. But right now, what I see with a lot of schools on the neighbor islands, the rural schools, they don't have the resources to fix it because they're not the squeaky wheel they get it fixed. The guys who get fixed is more here on Oahu. So they have a disadvantage because it's more like a Band-Aid approach. But I think for now, we need to look at what is the internal problem we have to correct that. I know they had problems in the fire alarm system. That's one thing. Is there others out there? Besides the fire alarm, is there something with the plumbing, or there's something with door hardwares or whatever? So we need to make assessment. To answer your question, Madam Chair, it's a balance, but the question is, where are we looking at the projects? Because overall, I think the rural schools and the neighbor islands will have a bigger budget on repair and maintenance versus the schools here in Oahu.
Thank you. Question?
Aloha, Mike.
Mike.
I've served with you in the legislature and known you for a while. I certainly appreciate your experience in the construction area and facilities. But as a board member on BOE, that's not the only thing. I mean, there is a whole bunch of other areas. Plus, I don't know if you recall, but DAGS is the one that used to do all the facilities and so forth. Right. And then that wasn't working. There are a lot of complaints about DAGs. And so it got split up. And so now it went over to, not now, but it went over to DOE. And on neighbor islands, it's not even with DOE, it's still with DAGs. So they do the repair and maintenance. Did you know that?
I don't know, because I was part of
you-
where we split DOE from DAG.
Yes,
I
but knowing
remember
that
that.
you were
I didn't know about.
Okay, but knowing that you were coming here, going back to
Yeah.
Senator DeCourt's thing is that, you know, some homework would have been helpful.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they don't, it's DAGs that do it. So
Okay.
DOE had it and it didn't, we had to create SFA. Not that I agreed with SFA, but we have SFA. And being that we have SFA, so it's like, who's going to run it now? Is it going to go back to BOE because you seem to be an expert in that, or it's going to be SFA? Now there's already a rift, and I'm going to talk about it. There's a rift between DOE and SFA, and that's not helpful. And the way we're gonna solve it is to put 2 voting members from DOE and the board onto SFA, and now you come on. I mean, I don't know what going on, but you know me, I'm direct, and so are you. So I think that you have to realize
Yeah.
what's your role going to be as a board member.
Right.
If you wanted to do facilities, then you should ask to be on SFA.
Right.
Right?
Right. I agree with you saying, Waster, Kim. I mean, basically what I've been reading, because I've been busy on my role as an engineer, because my biggest project I have now is the Honolulu wastewater treatment plant. It's a big project that carries all the leeward side. What you say is correct. I didn't know about DAGS was handling neighbor islands. Okay. But what you're saying is, since it was a part of the legislature to have the 3 entities, right now we have to see where is the medium point. I mean, everybody want to take credit, but the question is, everybody taking credit, nothing is done. Everybody's pointing fingers. You're going to have duplication of resources, because when DOE split from DAGS, the resources are duplicated to DOE. Now you have another entity. You know, I'm just saying that the spirit of collaboration got to be there.
Yes.
And that's what
yes.
I'm saying. So I'm looking at,
That's
yeah,
what we have now. So
Yeah.
we cannot go back and say,
I
you know,
agree.
that's the situation. And if the BOE and the DOE wants a vote to be a voting member, and I always say, be careful what you wish for,
Mhm.
because when there's going to be problem with SFA, I'm going to say, you folks are on the board, you have a vote.
Okay.
Now, why is there still problems? Right?
Mhm.
So I'm just cautioning as we move forward, but you seem to continue to talk about
Yeah.
facilities and construction and all of that, and bringing fresh eyes. Well, it doesn't seem that fresh when you're so focused on narrowly on one area
Yeah.
that we already have SFA.
Yeah.
Do you know how much money, CIP money, that is in the pipeline that has been encumbered but not spent? And projects that have not gone forward? Do you know how much money is that?
Not exactly. So-
Backlog? $1 billion, over $1 billion sitting there. And every year we get more CIP, we get more laps. So we have all these projects sitting, $1 billion worth of projects sitting there because it's too expensive to build, because the money that was allocated has the costs have increased.
Right.
So what is DOE going to do about that? Those are the things that I want you to focus on.
Yeah.
What are you going to do about that? Not necessarily building and construction, but
No.
what are you going to do about all of that dollars, and every year asking for more and more CIP and more backlogs?
Thank you, Senator. You kind of educate me on that basis. I didn't know about. I thought basically when DOE split from DAG, that was completely the whole. Now you're telling me. So, I mean, I've been out of this building for 15 years, so I'm just concentrating. But realism is exactly what you said, and I appreciate what Senator Court mentioned. Did you look at it? I was just looking at more on the peripheral cursory to see what can be done. I mean, I haven't really dig deep as far as where is the problem, where do we look at, how do we cooperate, not knowing how the agency is split and how is the correlation, or you might say feel of challenge, you might say.
Have you called members to meet with us beforehand? So you can
just Senator Hashimoto, and I appreciate Senator Hashimoto reaching out to me and the Chair Kidani. I just found out just a couple of days ago about this hearing.
Can I just comment? I'm really concerned at your lack of preparation to come to this committee without knowing just the basics of where information is gathered. Being a former legislator, I would think that you would have the knowledge to be able to at least do your homework, come in a little bit more prepared. And you've mentioned multiple times that, you're coming in with fresh eyes. We don't need fresh eyes. We need experienced eyes. We need eyes that know where things can get done short term and know where it can get done long term. I did not get an email or a phone call from you asking to share about what your thoughts were in this position. So I appreciate you being here. I'm again thankful for your opportunity, your willingness to serve, but I'm just not sure that you're taking this seriously, because you're coming in front of the Senate. You've been in this building before. You know how it works. You know that this is going to be a committee that's probably going to ask you hard questions. For you to say that you are kind of like a get hired for the job person, and then you're going to start to do the work, That's unacceptable. You are going to be a part of a department that parents are not feeling secure, whether that be in the truancy rates are increasing exponentially. You have buses that have been canceled primarily in my district, which has contributed to the truancy rates. You have facilities, yes, that are lacking, but there is more than just the facilities. There's the curriculum. You have high schoolers in my district that are graduating with 3rd grade reading level. Okay, so again, I see that you have a very impressive resume. And maybe if this was for a different position, that I would feel compelled or even more impressed to probably see this thing through. But right now you're coming in at a time where the department is really needing to strengthen itself, especially its trust with the community. And right now, just with you saying that you didn't do any research, you didn't know that there was a separation of departments. I have a hard time believing that you don't have the knowledge from being a former representative to be able to at least make the necessary phone calls, at least reach out to the committee members and say, hey, this is something that I just got a call on, but I'm passionate about it. This is something that I want to do. And so for me, I'm seeing a lack of desire to be here. As you said, you just got the call a couple of days ago. And even if that were the case, I would expect somebody with your background and with your knowledge here in the building to know what that means and to be able to come in here prepared. So I'm not sure where things might be falling through the cracks, but I am really concerned that I'm just really concerned. So I'll just leave it at that, Chair. Sorry, I just wanted to make that comment that we really have to start getting qualified people to serve on this board to be able to keep the department accountable and to make sure that things are moving forward. So thank you very much, Chair.
Anyway, Senator, thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you. Well,
Thanks, Mr. Magawai, for being here. You know, I think it's great that you're very much interested in facilities. I think what I'm trying to figure out is your statement that you didn't look into, projects with Senator DeCourt. Yet when we talked yesterday, one of the first things you told me was that the Department of Education or the legislature shouldn't be line iteming items, and that we need to go support the DOE in their lump sums. And so, so then that indicates to me that you actually did hear things about what's going on at the DOE, and you should have formed an opinion to come to that conclusion. Yet you're coming here today and telling us that you haven't looked into projects. So I'm just trying to figure out, what is it? Which one is it? Do you know what's going on, or are you going to look at it after you're confirmed? Because I think it's really important to understand where you actually stand, because I'm concerned that you came to me and said, we need to support lump sums. And then all of a sudden you're saying, okay, we're okay with line items. But I don't know. It depends on what audience you're talking to, but I need to know what exactly is your position.
Senator Hashimoto, thank you very much. Thank you for having me yesterday. Like, I've been talking to Janko Vale. They're basically going on lump sum. So that's the reason why I brought it up. I mean, when I'm saying on line item, each of the senators, legislators, House of Representatives have line item things they need for their district. That's what I mentioned. It just said, I didn't know about that. DAGs took care of neighbor islands. I thought DE was handling everything. So I didn't know that. I mean, to me, yeah, shame on myself for not really digging deeper. But I was just looking at more on that end to bring forward what I see was a problem. That's all. I mean, as far as priority 1 and 2, yes, I need to get involved in those to see what's out there. I mean, talking to the different principals and everything else, I just need to make sure that their concern is met, and also the concerns of the legislators like you, the senators in the House, because you are basically the one, are the policymakers to make things work. And we are just basically an extension of your arm to see that everything is carried out. And basically on our side, we have to be upright, forthright to give you the proper information as we go forward. And because you are the governing body for us to administer.
So what is it? Are you for line items, or are you for lump sum?
As legislators, you guys been lying on, because I was looking at the way that university did theirs. So I'm looking at more on the lump sum. So that way the money don't get expired or
okay. So then it conflicts with your original statement that legislators are looking at the DOE, asking, where's my project? What is happening to it? So how do we reconciliate those two statements of us making sure that we get what we want for our community, or what the community is desiring for their own community? We're the conduits for that. And you said that was the problem, and then that's not happening. So then how do we ensure that that's going to happen if we have a lump sum?
Well, I need to go talk to the people in charge and facilities on our side. I mean, on not my side, on DOE. I need to see where the structure reform is. I hear what you're saying. I mean, I need to go because you get some new people on board on the facility side. I need to see where do you go? What's the track record? What is their strategic plan? What are the progress to come out? I need to see what is the reform to do things. I'm just mentioning what I've been talking to UH with Jangoville. That's what you mentioned. And basically, I know for us before, we just took a line item for us to make a request, and hopefully that the forebearers, which is DOE or DAGs at that time, to carry out your mission that this thing is built.
Okay, well, I guess all we want to know is where you stand on the issue. And so when you go all around and you know, confusing what the issue is, I think it's hard for us to really understand what we're voting for, right? And I think,
well, if you want to look at it this way, if the representative would be a line item. You know what I mean? I mean, the question is, you're asking a line item or lump sum, right? I'm just worried about the money doesn't get lapsed.
okay, so you're not taking a position now. You're just saying,
Well, because basically the money that's allocated, but it's a biannual budget, it's either for 2 years, it can be taken away if there's no productivity or we got in a project.
okay, so now we're disregarding what the community needs, though, because it's just up to
I'm
the
not saying
DOE.
we're disregarding the community need, it just made it a process what the DOE is doing right now. I mean, the point is that the projects are not coming out on a timely matter.
Right, I think
That's
that's
what I'm
we all
getting
can
at,
acknowledge.
because I cannot look, because monies are allocated by your fiscal year and your biennium. It's the will of the legislature to take it out or continue to the next year.
Right.
So that's what I'm getting at. I mean, maybe I never answered your question, but I'm just saying that somehow the money got to be there for them to carry on, because it takes more than 2 years to get a project moving.
Right. But how do then we ensure that the projects are going to the places that we need it to go? And what role does the legislature have in that?
Well, first of all, we have to look at the structure with DOE, with the new people on board, to see where they're going. I need to see what was their process and method, what they've been doing, because it seems like it doesn't work.
Okay, well,
I mean, the point I'm getting at, I really haven't chance to talk to the people who handles this. All I know, we have a problem. It's just that, you know, for us on the private sector side, you know, we have a process, you know, they get to take 1 or 2 years for design, then you're permitting, then construction and everything else. But so the question is, I'm just worried that the money will lapse and the money will be pulled out, because depending what happened during the session, depending on that criteria, what, I just want to make sure that the money that's covered to do your project, it stays there. You know, I'm just.
okay. Yeah, I think you're confusing it more, but you know, as long as, you know, I think what I'm trying to understand is where your concept is, your framework going into it. I think it's a little murky, but let's move on. So what is your understanding of how, you know, as we talked about, the facilities, OFO is more than just facilities.
Mhm.
What is your take on where we are with school lunches?
School lunches. I mean, I know we tried to do from farm to school. That didn't work out. I mean, to me, on lunches, we need to have a way of facilities for them to have good lunches, and also economically. I mean, the question is, depending where the school, you know, like some schools, they have cafeterias where they have a feeder school where the lunches goes, but we have to get nutritious lunches. And if we want to go back to farm to table, that'd be nice, but you know, I would like to see that instead of
So
importing.
are you aware that the DOE is not following the legislative mandate on how much we charge for school lunches?
Yes,
And so what do you think the board should do about that?
huddle and do something about it.
Are you aware that your deputy superintendent of the Department of Education came in recently and said there is no plan for the Board of Education to move forward?
I don't know about that. I wasn't part
So
of that.
what do you think should happen?
is basically listening to what the legislator is saying.
So the department's view is that we better change the law so it complies with what you guys, the department is charging. Do you think that's sufficient, and do you think that's the best way to plan moving forward?
No, it's not a way to plan because the UE comes in asking for that. It has to be a mutual agreement. You know, as policymakers, we have to make sure that who benefits is the kids. You know,
Okay, so what will you do about this kind of thing if you're on the Board of Education?
I would basically work collectively with the rest of our board members to see what is the ultimate results and work with the stakeholders at the legislators to see what is a good compromise to do it with.
Okay, and if you're not following a legislative statute, then what is the role of the Board of Education?
If we're not, then we have to find out why we're not. I mean, the key is that if we come to an agreement or make a compromise and we're not following it, there's something wrong with that system.
Okay, so you're gonna look into that if you get confirmed?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, basically, it's a collective effort with the rest of the board. I'm just going to be one out of the.
Yeah, but you
I
have
mean,
the legislative experience, you and the chair, right?
Yeah, but the point I'm saying that it's a collective board where everybody has to compromise or agree upon and provide the pros and cons. That's what I'm getting. It's more of a discussion, a heavy discussion. And we have to look at and tell them the scenarios. If you do this way, what's going to happen? You do the other, what's going to happen? There's not a perfect world. We just need to have a fairly thorough discussion. And basically what it benefits is our keikis and the parents, you know, ultimately. We have to work to see what is that. I mean, there's no right or wrong. It's more, how do we collaborate? Where's the compromise point? Everybody has their point, what they want to do. You know, I'm looking at more for us as a board to be collectively, but work with you guys. We are here to agree or disagree. But a point I'm getting at least we know where we stand. And if there's a compromise, so be it. You know what I mean?
So all I wanted to hear from you is that you will commit to creating a plan to figure out what needs to happen in that arena, right? And I think that should be top of mind of what you should be going and
basically what you
discussing
just
with your
said,
fellow members.
What you say right now, yes, affirmative.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Sorry, I just have one more comment. Mike, and excuse me for being brash, but did you have the intention of coming to this committee and just breezing through, getting the votes, move on, get on the board? I'm
No,
just trying to determine your
No.
level of seriousness here.
no,
Because my colleagues are asking you questions and it doesn't seem
No,
as though you have
no.
direct answers, where we are looking to put somebody in this position that has already a plan in place. You already know. You have an advantage being an elected official prior to this, so you somewhat know how the policies and legislature works and things like that. So you do have an advantage. I would think that you would take that as the advantage to help bring the real-time execution of projects, plans, and solutions that we need here. So my question to you is, did you come to this committee with the intention that you were going to breeze through, get the votes, go to the floor, get the votes, and be a member of the board?
Senator, it's a good question. The answer to you is a flat no.
Okay.
The reason
I'm having a
why-
hard
because-
time-
Because
excuse
the
me.
reason why I'm telling you, as we get older, we get prosperous vertically, like I mentioned about the rice field, I'm giving back. Okay. I'm giving back whatever I have worked. And because anything in life is always people connection, people you meet, how you can help them. I'm not turning my cheek because somebody needs help. I tell you about some of the nonprofit organization I'm helping right now. Why would I help them?
We're not
right?
looking for somebody to give back.
No,
If we
I'm
needed
just
that,
saying-
we
I'm
would
just-
have hired a
I agree,
philanthropist.
I
We're
agree.
looking for somebody to be a member of the board that will hold the superintendent's office accountable to make sure that when it comes to the legislature and then the Department of Education, that these two are aligning.
Affirmative.
And so that's why, again, my concern is that you didn't prepare for this meeting and you didn't prepare for the questioning that you would have had on the board. So my only other logical thought is that you thought you were going to come in and just breeze through it.
Senator's a flat no.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Chair. No questions.
It's recess. reconvening the Committee on Education. We are going to GM on GM 761 to advise and consent on Deanna Dolier for the Hawaii Teachers Standards Board. And GM 774 also for the Board of Education, gubernatorial nominee Wesley Lowe, and GM 776 for Board of Education for nominee Sylvia Lee. And on GM 775, we are going to defer on GM 775. So members,
Yes.
oh, I'm sorry. So for GM 775, defer to April 11th, 2025 at 3:01 p.m. in this room, 229, to allow some follow-up with EDU members, other members. Okay, questions? If not, for GM 761, recommendation on Deanna Dolier is to advise and consent. Yes, Chair votes aye.
On GM 761, Chair's recommendation is to advise and consent. Chair votes aye. Vice Chair is excused. Senator Hashimoto.
Aye.
I vote aye. Senator DeCourt.
Aye.
Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. For GM 774, recommendation is to advise and consent to nominee Wesley Lowe for the Board of Education for a term to expire 6/30/2028. Chair votes aye.
Chair's recommendation is to advise and consent on GM 774. Chair votes aye. Vice Chair is excused. Senator Hashimoto.
Aye.
I vote aye. Senator DeCourt.
Aye.
Chair recommendation is adopted. That was 774, now 776.
Okay, for GM 776, for advise to, Chair is recommending to advise and consent for gubernatorial nominee Sylvia Lee for the Board of Education for a term to expire June 30th, 2028. Chair votes aye.
GM 776, Chair's recommendation is to advise and consent. Chair votes aye. Vice Chair is excused. Senator Hashimoto.
Aye.
I vote aye. Senator DeCourt.
Aye.
Chair recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. And for GM 775 to advise and consent on gubernatorial nominee Michael Magawai to the Board of Education, the recommendation of the Chair is going to defer until April 11, 2025 at 3:01 p.m. in this conference room 229.
And Chair, real quick comment.
Yes.
And thank you, members, and thank you everybody for being here. I think it's a good opportunity for Mr. Magawai, and heard the comments and questions and concerns, and I think it's a good opportunity for us to follow up within this next week and kind of lay out all those conditions and see get better information, and for yourself as well, you know, some of the concerns, and maybe looking at all the things that we would like for you to look at and can come back for the decision making next time. Thank you, Chair.
Hearing's adjourned.